All right, welcome to the Krug Show. Tuesday night, Raj is in the house. He's repping Warriors on with the headgear. You got the Kittle and Bosa pennants. You got the Purdy shirt. We got the Mancini Sleep World logo up in the top screen. It's the Krug Show, starring Raj. We're talking a lot of draft. Join us right now. All right, we're off and running. It's the Krug Show on a Tuesday night, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Anthony Catania is the owner at 831-521-5264. And are you looking to upgrade your sleep? Well, now's the perfect time. Our friends at Mancini Sleep World are kicking off their spring clearance sale starting March 25th. You don't want to miss these deals. Up to 50% off select mattresses, 2 free pillows with any Tempur-Pedic mattress purchase, plus an extra 10% off when you use our exclusive code KRUG10, KRUEG 10. Mancini's, the spring clearance sale runs from March 25th through April the 28th. So it's just going on for a short while longer, so do not wait. Click the link in the description to shop now and experience better sleep with Mancini Sleep World. Make sure you click inside the description and make sure you use the code KRUG10 to get your discount. Once again, you got to use that code KRUG10, KRUEG 10, to get 10% off. But man, you go buy a mattress, it could be $5,000. You're going to save $500 just because you're a fan of the Krug Show and you use KRUG10 at the checkout. So thanks to Mancini's for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. I spent today in Santa Clara, had a chance to go listen to John Lynch and then little Christian McCaffrey, little Fred Warner down in the Niner media room. Niners getting ready for the draft on Thursday night. 49ers have 11 picks, including the 11th pick overall. It is without a doubt, it is a crucial draft for the 49ers. If they lay an egg, they're probably done. I don't want to be too dramatic, but if they lay an egg, I would say their chances of contending are not good, and the chances of Shanahan and Lynch sticking around forever or long term is not good. If they can get off the canvas and have a big draft, I'm a believer. Now, I don't know if Raj is. We'll ask him right here. But I'm a believer that the 49ers have their destiny in their hand. I'm a believer that what's going to happen this weekend is relevant to 2025 and that the 49ers do have a chance, if they make the right selections, to draft themselves back into the playoffs, into the NFC title mix, and into the Super Bowl mix. I believe it's all there. It's going to take a huge effort. It's not going to be easy. They're going to need some luck, some good fortune, and they're going to have to probably trade back and hit on a volume of picks. But I won't sit here on the 22nd of April and just claim they have no shot. It's all about 26. Maybe that means I'm a dreamer, and if you want to say that, that's fine. Maybe, but the one thing I'll say about this channel, you tune into this channel every night or regularly if you are, and you don't. It's not like some channels. There are some channels you tune in and the host is going to be ripping the Niners. There's other channels you can tune into and that that host will be rim jobbing the Niners. This channel, you don't know, because we call it like we see it. We're straight shooters, and that's what I want this channel to be. So on that note, welcome to the Krug Show.
Yeah, a rim job.
Did you like that?
I liked it. That was a good intro. Good
intro. There you go.
That might have been your best intro of all time, Larry. That was good.
Thank you. All right. So did you? I know you did. So Raj, of course, is a force of nature on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, with hundreds of thousands of followers, and lots of people keep up on their Niner news via Raj. And RSF 49ers and everything they put out. So I know, I don't even have to ask. I know you were aware of what went on in Santa Clara today. And before I give you my opinions and my thoughts, I'll throw it to you, Raj. Give me your takeaway. What were your thoughts listening to the various things coming out of Santa Clara today?
Yeah, it was an interesting day. First and foremost, it was just exciting to get some actual, real, damn news, because it's been the off season is like fake news, hearsay, this say, that say, smoke season. It was nice to hear some real, actual things coming out. So it was definitely much needed draft. I think it's got everybody excited. Lynch gave us a little bit of tea here and there. Me and you are going to discuss that. I was happy today with what I heard, and I think the one thing that you said is they can, compete this year. They can get into the playoffs if they draft well. I agree. Now, to me, I'm very optimistic with this draft. They can nail it. We all know that all their chips are in this draft, right? They didn't have a huge off season. They didn't really sign big names. They've been trying to shed money. They've been trying to save money so they can extend a couple of players. So I'm all in on this draft because this is a make or break draft for this team. It's not only just this year, but the future, because they got rid of a lot of players, Larry. And I think all of us know, like, okay, Dre Greenlaw's there. How are you going to replace him? Okay, no more Hufanga. How are you going to replace him? Okay, you don't have Leonard Floyd. You don't have Hargrave. How are you going to replace those guys? And we're looking for this draft. So I was very optimistic today listening to Lynch. And, I'm happy that Brock Purdy reported. I think that was one of my big takeaways was, hey, he's in the middle of a contract extension, but he showed up. So that's the type of guy he is. They're behind him 100%. And despite being in a contract extension or talk, I feel like he's like, okay, I'm still going to come. That shows a lot of leadership for him. And not only that, it shows that he's probably in a good situation with the contract, and it's probably closer to getting done than not getting done. George Kittle, I know he didn't show up, but it's George Kittle. I am not worried at all. Like, if it was anybody else, I might be a little worried. But George Kittle's not the type of guy that I'm worried with these contract extensions. I'm sure he'll, get it done eventually. He's not going to be the type of guy that, does what BA did last year. And, he deserves a little bit of time off. Honestly, if we're being honest, George Kittle, he deserves some time off. This guy's busted his ass off for the team. And you know what? It's probably good for him to get some rest, before the big season. And everybody else, I was happy. And one other big takeaway is, last year, 6 wins, right? I know we just talked about they got to hit the draft. They also got to stay healthy, Larry. The fact that Fred Warner, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams are all there and they're all healthy, that's a big key for the 49ers this year. Last year, all their big key players were hurt. Right now, they look rejuvenated. They sound like they're coming, full force. And if those guys can stay healthy, they got a chance, Larry.
A lot of stuff to talk about. We got a lot to talk about. We always do, but it seems like tonight we do have even more to talk about. Okay, so let's hit the first stuff. I mean, first of all, Fred talked today, and he's like, "Hey, man, I make a lot of money, and I'm doing really well, and I'm gonna show up for the OTAs and the offseason program, whether I get this contract done or not. It's like, hey, they're already paying me. It's like they've already paid me." So I like that approach because it was like kind of his way of saying, hey, man, I know this organization is going to take care of me. They already have, and they will continue to. And he didn't seem overly concerned about his contract or when it would get done or if it would get done. So maybe he's been promised something. Maybe he just has faith. Maybe, maybe he just maybe he understands that the right way to do this publicly is to be very gracious, because he was very gracious today. And Fred's smart. Fred's the one thing. That's what I love about Fred too. Is just that he's a smart guy, and he doesn't do things for effect usually. You know what I mean? He's pretty genuine. And I thought his comments today were just more of the same. Fred being Fred, genuine, good guy. Cares about his money. Who doesn't, right? I mean, everybody cares about their money, but not to the level he's going to I need mine or I'm not showing up at OTAs. So I thought that was kind of cool. He showed up. Kittle did not show up. And as you said, who cares? I mean, I really don't care. All this stuff, by the way, is voluntary. I don't know if anybody knew that. Yeah, these are all voluntary. There's a mandatory minicamp in June. And everybody has to show up for that. This is all totally voluntary. So, and we saw Kittle in Iowa. It was Iowa or Nashville, right?
He was in Nashville with Brock training. Yeah.
Right. And he's got his own field and he's got his own lifting facility, and he's obviously putting himself through the paces. So I'm not concerned at all about George, and it sounds like George's thing could get done. Now, here's the question I would have. The Niners from the outside world could be viewed as in a rebuild, right? Now, and I know that Lynch and Shanahan and Jed and everybody down there, they're all about winning this year. And they're not in a rebuild. I mean, they may be rebuilding parts of their roster, but they're not in a rebuild. They're going to try like crazy to win the Super Bowl this year. They're not tearing it down to the studs and trading everybody. I had Grant and I streamed the other day, and he's like, hey, if Purdy or Kittle don't show up for minicamp, I trade him. Well, Purdy did show up, and Kittle didn't. So is Grant trading Kittle right now? Because he said yesterday if he didn't show up today, he would trade him. So obviously that's, maybe that's, and I love Grant. Maybe he's just being knee jerk on that. Maybe he's just saying it for effect. Or what do you think, Raj? I mean, if the Niners are going through a rebuild or a retool, whatever you want to call it, a reset, should they trade their 30-year-old tight end who's probably played his best football and whose value's at an all-time high right now, as Grant suggests? Or, do you think they're going to the finish line with Kittle and he's just like in his own category and, you might be able to get something for him, but no, and no. I mean, how much should the Niners consider dealing away George Kittle if, somebody called, forget shopping him, because they're obviously not shopping him. Should they answer the phone on draft day if on the other line is a team saying, we'll give you 3 picks for George Kittle? What do you think?
0%, Larry. You don't trade George Kittle. You face the franchise. He's a captain. He's a leader. I know Grant, he's
Debo was a captain. They just traded him.
yeah, but it's a whole different story. George Kittle's one of the best Niners, probably. You could put him in the top 10, maybe, arguably. He's ascending up that list of top 49ers of all time. He wants to retire a 49er, and I get it. You could trade him. You get some value, whatever. He's still a top tight end. I get that. I get Grant, but that's like a rage bait to me. That's pure rage bait. Try to get clicks. I know that's part of his thing. But honestly, George Kittle, again, I'm not worried about it. Even John Lynch said, like, sometimes he doesn't show up at the beginning, and it's not mandatory. It's voluntary. You don't have to be there. Trent Williams usually doesn't show up. The fact that he showed up was like, oh, wow, okay, Trent Williams is there. He wants to get back on track this year. He was injured last year. But also Kittle's dealt with injuries over the years. He's been training. He doesn't miss a beat. He goes out there. He's in Nashville. He has his own facilities, like you said. I'm not worried about Kittle not showing up because they know the whole team knows George Kittle is going to be there, and he eats, breathes, and sleeps football. Like, he's that guy. He's a leader. I don't have any, I don't think that his contract's going to slip into the OTAs and training camp. It's like, oh, no, now Kittle's holding out. It's not. I don't think that's going to happen. Like, if it was another player on this team, like Brandon Ayuk, a guy that has just, never really proved himself like last year. Brandon Ayuk, that whole situation got messy. Debo Samuel, wide receivers, some of those guys are divas, for lack of a better word. And Kittle's never really shown that. I know a couple years back he did have a big contract, extension, and it dragged out, but his agent was trying to get him paid. And this is now Kittle's 3rd contract with the team. So there's got to be some talk. Where's that number going to be? McBride just got paid, right? Top of the market. Do you let Kittle reset the market again as a 30-year-old tight end? I don't know. So there's a lot of talk that has to go on. And Kittle, he doesn't need to be there. He's earned a little bit of grace period because of what he's done for this franchise, what he means for this franchise. I don't think you trade Kittle. I think that's just a knee-jerk reaction, and it's crazy. If you trade away George Kittle, this franchise will be absolutely not behind you. You want to sell tickets? Don't trade George Kittle, because if you trade him, these fans will be absolutely pissed off. You already lost Greenlaw. You already lost Debo, right? You already lost a lot of the fan favorites. You trade away Kittle, the viewership, the amount of tickets you're selling, it's going to go down a little bit. So 49ers would be wise not to trade him.
He's one of the faces of the franchise, and I think it's your job to listen. So I think you always have to listen. And I just always believe that, you traded Joe Montana, so you can listen on George Kittle, but it doesn't mean that you should pull the trigger. And personally, I think the fans have to have some connection to the team. I think the A's are proof of that, right? The A's have some good young players. The A's just called up a guy today named Nick Kurtz, who's a great young player, but nobody's there to watch him because the owner turned off all the fans and the fans don't want to be there. So, you can only do so much to hurt, to damage the team and before the fans start to rise up. You want to get rid of, Greenlaw and all these other guys, Debo, fine. But if you get rid of Kittle at this point in his career, man, you sure as hell better get a great draft haul coming back. And even so, you're going to have to do some damage control. And I just don't think they're going to do it. I agree with you. I just don't. Just because something makes sense on paper doesn't mean that it makes sense in actuality, because in reality, he's the leader in the room. He's the swagger. He's their strut. He's their confidence. If you get rid of him, it's like literally, you're starting new. And I think they want to hit a reset, but short of starting fresh, starting new.
Yeah, they're retooling.
They're retooling. They're not tearing it to the studs and saying check back in 3 years. They're not doing. I mean, some people say they're doing what the Rams are doing, but I don't necessarily agree with that because I think the Rams went into that going, you know what, we're going to have 2 down years. I don't think the 49ers are saying that internally.
I agree.
I mean, maybe they are, but I don't think so.
I don't think they're going to let that news come out, but I think I think they generally think they could compete. And again, it's not like they have scrubs on this roster. They still have Fred Warner, Kittle, Trent Williams, CMC, Diamond Linda. They still have some really good talent. Last year's young players are going to become probably Pro Bowl type players. Dominic Pooney, right? Renardo Green, Mustafa. Like, they have good players. It's not like they have a scrub team. I don't think that they're going to walk into this season thinking, 6 wins, maybe 7. I don't think so. I think they honestly feel they can win it as long as they draft. And going back to Kittle, someone in the comments that they put it the right way. They said trading away Kittle would be like the Mavericks trading away Luka, like a fan favorite, like a player that you buy the jersey for. You go to this team to watch him play. Luka, that was crazy. And it's hard to recover. As a GM, it would be very difficult for John Lynch to recover if they trade away George Kittle. He's already traded away DeForest Buckner, and he's had to damage control and recover after that. If you trade away DeForest Buckner and George Kittle, John Lynch, I don't want you as a GM. Don't do it.
I mean, what's next? You going to close down Santa's workshop and fire all the elves?
Might have to at that point.
You Keebler elves, get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. We're shutting down Santa's workshop. All you guys out of here. You're all evicted. We're getting rid of the Easter bunny next. No, but it does seem a little over the top. I do understand the methodology of, hey, our team's rebuilding. Let's take one of our better players and trade them for a haul. I get that. I understand that. I just don't necessarily think that that's where this team is. I don't think the 49ers are that far away. Now, the Eagles got up off the canvas, got themselves a new OC, got themselves a new DC, made a couple moves in the secondary, and bingo bango, they win the Super Bowl. But they also had a lot more talent going into this year on both the offensive and defensive line. The Niners challenge, I think, is more significant than what the Eagles faced a year ago. So I would push back on the people be like, hey, man, the Eagles did it. Okay. The Eagles did something similar, but they also had far greater depth on both sides of the line and better weapons all ready to roll, where the Niners just said goodbye to Debo. And we don't know if Ayuk's going to play, and Kittle's 30, and Juice is older, and CMC is, body's beat up, and your O-line's not very good, and your D-line has totally been, decimated with defections and injuries and whatnot. And you need to rebuild your linebacking core. The Eagles didn't have this necessarily, but I see what people are saying. Okay. I think probably the biggest happening of the day was Brock Purdy showed up to OTAs without a deal. And John Lynch was asked about it. He said, hey, man, what's your read on Brock showing up? And instead of saying, hey, it's an indication that we're imminent on a contract extension, he didn't say that. He said, that's Brock. He's clear-minded. He's not going to let anything prevent him from doing what he wants, which is basically what he said. That's not an exact quote, but, give me a little little liberty because I was writing quickly there.
Mm-hmm.
But Lynch basically said there have been some progress in the contract talks. There've been some progress in the negotiations between the two sides, but that Brock showing up, shows that that's Brock. And, to me, I think that it's going to be interesting, the trying to bring this ship to shore, because I'm sure Brock's agent is probably got mixed feelings about Brock showing up. On one hand, he loves Brock showing up because that's who his client is. His client shows up for work. His client, puts in a honest day's work. That's why the Niners love him. That's why a lot of the fans love him. I'm sure that's one of the reasons the agent loves him. But then on the other hand, Raj, on some level, you're kind of sending a message that you really, 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 really want to be there. And if the team has that knowledge in their back pocket, do they have the upper hand in the negotiations? What do you think, Raj? What's your read on Purdy showing up today? And did the Niners just, by this action of Purdy's, gain the upper hand in these negotiations? Because they got a pretty reasonable expectation that their quarterback is not going to want to sit out the mandatory. He's not going to want to sit out phase 3 when they hit the field. He's going to want to be out there, and he's probably going to put some pressure on his agent to bring this ship to shore. And who knows? I mean, his agent may say, Brock, hold steady. And he may say, no, I'm not going. I'm going to be there on day one. Hell, if Mac Jones is going to run my football team. You know what I'm saying? What's your read on Purdy showing up today?
Yeah, no, that was pretty crazy. I mean, obviously they haven't got a deal done. I mean, there's reports saying that they're working towards it. To me, I mean, I do think that if you show up, that's probably a good indicator that says you're probably closer than you were a couple days ago, a couple weeks ago, maybe. But again, John Lynch says, well, that's just Brock Purdy. That's who he is. But this, to me, out of all the quotes that John Lynch said, this is the one that really stuck with me. This is what he said. He says, Brock Purdy is very clear-minded and not going to let other people influence what he should be doing. Like, to me, that's just him saying, Brock don't care what I say. I don't care what Parag says. He doesn't care what Jed says. He doesn't care what his agent says. He's going to listen to Brock Purdy. And that's all he's ever listened to is himself. Because he said over the last couple of weeks, there's been some interviews he's had that he said, look, I've been overlooked. I've been, undervalued my whole career. I've had to prove myself. And he says, you know what? I'm going to go out there. He said it a couple months ago, right, at the goodbye press conference, that I want to get this taken care of early and whatever. I want to get it done quick and not messy. It's just Brock, man. He wants to go out there and prove, like, hey, look, I'm a leader. I'm a captain, man. And I think that speaks highly of who he is and shows him, like, I don't want to be anywhere else. Like, I could sit here and hold out if I really want to, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. So I think it's a good message for Brock to showcase, like, yeah, I am the leader you guys think. And I think that really shows John Lynch a lot of respect. And I don't think it was, one of those things. One of the things that I've been saying is, I don't think this is going to drag out into the offseason, to the OTAs and stuff. So it's kind of goes with that theme of Brock Purdy's not going to let this, drag out too much. So, yeah, no, it was pretty crazy to see that, because most of the time people in contract situations, they're not showing up. And this is voluntary. He didn't need to be there. But if you look at the other, stuff that's been going over the last couple of weeks, he's been training with Ricky Pearsall. He's been training with George Kittle. Like, he's doing everything he can to make sure he's ready and on page with all his players. So it's just who he is, like John Lynch said. But I do think
and be yourself. Be yourself. If this is who you are, I think a big part of being a quarterback in the NFL is being an authentic leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Authentic leadership is what it takes to run an NFL team. You're not going to you're not going to be the leader in the room because you got a Rolex. You're not going to be the leader in the room because you can kick everybody's ass. You're not going to be the leader in the room because you've got a sharp tongue. You're going to be the leader in the room because you are an authentic leader who's consistent, works hard, and is the same person every day. That's Brock Purdy. So to me, I would just say my advice to him would be, Brock, obviously you're involved in negotiations. Don't undercut your agent and your representation. But more importantly, be yourself. Be yourself. If you are the kind of guy that's going to show up for OTAs come hell or high water, then show up for OTAs come hell or high water and let your agent and the Niners figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it. Bottom line. Let those guys figure it out. Because like John Lynch said, He's not going to let anybody persuade him. And that's what Brock's showing. Like, hey, I'm just going to be myself. I'm Brock Purdy, and this is what's going to happen. I'm showing up.
Yep. No, I mean, to me, it was the right thing. Of course, welcome to the Krug Show as we're off and running here on a Tuesday night. Raj is in the house. We are brought to you by LearnKey Upskill Academy. Great news for Krug Show subscribers. Our sponsor, LearnKey, is offering a free cybersecurity course valued at $99. The course is titled Protecting Yourself and Your Organization. It's just a 1 hour long course. It will give you essential tips to keep you and your company safe online. It's a limited time offer, so don't miss out. Click the link in the description of the video and claim your free course and start learning today at upskill.learnkey.com. And we are also brought to you by our good friends at Claudaddy Arcades. Claudaddy's a fan of the show. He's got 3 locations down in Southern Cal. He's got Fresno. He's got Modesto. He's got a location open here in the Bay. He's a great follow on Instagram. So follow him there at Claw_Daddy_Arcades and find a location near you. One of the things we are doing on the show is we're doing an NFL draft contest where LearnKey is sponsoring a special April NFL draft challenge. All you got to do is predict the top 12 top 12 picks of the draft. If you get the most matches, you're going to win a $100 Visa gift card. Second place wins a $50 Visa gift card. And both winners get to come on the show during draft weekend. So hit the link. The link's in the description below. Lock in your draft board and let's see who really knows their draft. And thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring the show and, of course, the challenge. Let's hit that right here, Raj. What do you think if I said to you, let's roll through as we sit here, how we think this thing's going down? Let's just walk it through. Okay, first pick, I think everybody knows Cam's going to Tennessee, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty much assumed. I think Cleveland at 2 is going Travis Hunter. I don't know if you've heard anything else, but I'm assuming Travis Hunter, great athlete, great student, 2-way player. I mean, he's the best player in the draft. So I think he goes 2. Do you agree with that?
I think there's every indication that he's probably going to go to the Cleveland Browns. Put it this way, I'd be surprised if Travis doesn't go to the Cleveland Browns.
So then New York's up 3rd, and I think they're going to go Abdul Carter. They could trade it to somebody else who's going to go Abdul Carter, but I think they're going to go Abdul Carter here. Yeah, I think he goes 3rd.
I think he goes 3rd. I think Abdul Carter is just so good off the edge that, it's hard to pass. He's the best edge rusher. I think that's the pick.
I think the first 4 are pretty set. I like Will Campbell going forward to New England. I think that makes a lot of sense, helps Drake May. Now, this 5th pick, some people say it's a Mason Graham. Some people say it's Ashton Genty in front of the Raiders. Woo! I think it's going to be, it's funny. I've also heard Jaylen Walker, but who I think it's going to be at 5? I think it's going to be Teteroa McMillan. I think it's going to be the Arizona wide receiver, and give Trevor Lawrence another weapon to go with his receiver last year. They drafted a Brian Johnson Jr. or whatever, Brian Johnson, or wasn't it Brian Johnson? Brian Thomas.
Yes, Brian Thompson.
Thomas?
Brian Thompson, right?
No, it's not Thompson. It's either I forget, but the former LSU receiver is in Jacksonville. And he's good, but I think they're going Teteroa McMillan at 5. Who do you think Jacksonville? Do they go with Genty? They go with Graham? They go with Jaylen Walker, or do they go with McMillan?
Wow, that's surprising. I don't think they do that, but I think it's Mason Graham. I honestly don't think they'll go any other direction. I think Mason Graham, but I've heard rumors over the last couple of days. Maybe someone's coming up to over the top to take Genty. They trade up with them, but I don't think it happens. What John Lynch said today is he doesn't think there's going to be a lot of trade up in the draft, because there's so much depth, there's so much talent like later down in the draft, which tells me that 49ers aren't trading up, which was a rumor last week. I do think they'd trade back, stack up some of that talent, that day 3 talent, but I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going Mason Graham. I'd be surprised if he does that.
Who do you got the Raiders taking at 6?
Genty. If they don't take Genty, I would be super shocked. I think Genty's their pick. That's a Raider pick.
I think Genty's probably their pick too. Then you got the Jets at 7. Do they go Membu? Do they go Tyler Warren? That's a tough one.
I think it's Membu. If Membu, the only other team I think takes Membu in that first top 10 would be the the Patriots, but I think they're sold on Will Campbell. He's the most pro-ready tackle. I think the Jets go Membu at that pick. I think it's a safe pick. You need an offensive tackle. You know, you got a new coach. It's a smart pick for him to take. Just take an offensive tackle, stack your line. I think Membu's the pick for the Jets.
Yeah, I do too. But I could see Tyler Warren. And then 8, you got Carolina. Now, this is where I think this thing's going to take a twist. I think the Steelers badly want Shador and think he could either go to the Saints or that the Saints could trade back. And I think the Steelers are going to trade up from 21. I think Carolina is really open-minded about trading back. They're really in the midst of a rebuild. I think Carolina would take Jaylen Walker if they stay here at 8. But I like the Steelers to trade next year's number 1 to jump from 21 to 8 and take Shador.
Wow.
I think that could happen.
That makes sense because they're not 100% sure if Aaron Rodgers, he's been playing games with them. So if they just want to say, screw it, we'll get a quarterback and maybe go Shador. But I think they're going to go for Dart. I think they're going to try to go Dart. Maybe they don't.
Really?
Yeah, I think they go Dart. I don't think they trade up, but I see where you're saying because if there is going to be a trade, I think Carolina makes sense because Carolina could use a lot of players. So if there's anybody that's going to trade, I feel Carolina. Although I do think if Tet McMillan isn't drafted already, I think that's the guy that they could take, get Bryce Young another weapon. But I do think ultimately, if they're at that position, I feel like Jaylen Walker might be also their pick right there. It's tough. I feel like they could go receiver, they could go defensive player because they got a lot of needs. But ultimately, man, that'd be crazy if they trade it. But I don't know. I think they go Jaylen Walker here. I think they go
like Jaylen to the Saints.
Yeah.
What
Panthers.
Or to the Panthers. Okay. Yeah, I think if they stay, I think they take Jaylen Walker. I think the Saints at 9 are really interesting. Do they go quarterback? Do they not? I'll tell you the guy that I think is potentially the guy who could be the second quarterback off the board is Milroe, just because he's a great guy. He's a great athlete. He's got a howitzer and he's a 4.3 runner. So there's a lot of like tangible things that you can point to there. And I just think that the scouts or somebody's going to be like, hey, we can coach this guy up. We can turn this guy into something. I mean, 4.3 speed and he's 225 pounds. If you like Anthony Johnson or who's the Colts quarterback?
Anthony Richardson.
If you like Anthony Richardson, then you probably would like him. If you like somebody who's got a big arm and lots of foot speed, then you might like Milroe because he's got a big arm and lots of foot speed. All right, 10. Who do you think the Bears go with? Do they go with Tyler Warren? Do they? What do the Bears do at 10?
Well, before I think the Saints. I think they go Shador. I know everybody's saying.
Okay.
I think everybody's saying they like Dart. I think that's a smoke screen. I think they go Shador. They got a new head coach, offensive coach. I think he wants to get his quarterback, and I think Shador is going to be the guy. I mean, at this point, he's a flashy guy. New Orleans, you bring the flashback. Dion, I think he goes Shador. 10, Chicago Bears going Tyler Warren.
They're going with the jumbo tight end. I was thinking maybe they might go Omarion Hampton.
I like that pick. Yeah.
The other thing with the Jets, I think there's a chance. Now, we'll see. I think there's a chance that the Jets go Jedi Barron at 7. Their head coach is a former corner from Texas, A&M, and Barron's a great corner. And I know, this guy had Brian Branch. I think he's probably going to look at this guy and say, hey, this guy's Brian Branch. So I think Barron could go 7. And then the question is, would Carolina, Saints, or Bears take Membu? And if not,
100%.
You think so?
If he's there, they take him because, I mean, the Saints could use an O-lineman. The Bears could definitely use an offensive tackle. And absolutely Carolina can.
I don't know if the Bears are going – the Bears already added a new guard and new center. They added 2 new guards and a new center. Yeah. You think they're gonna change out 4/5 of your offensive line? Maybe.
Gotta protect Caleb. But that's why out of those three teams, obviously the Bears would be the least likely, but I mean, they're really trying to protect their quarterback. But I do think giving him a weapon like Warren would be, oh man, it'd be fantastic.
I think the Bears. I would say the Bears go for Amarion Hampton. I think the Bears really want to help. I think the Bears really badly want to help the quarterback, and their O-line's upgraded. I think they're going to go for the skill position guy. They wanted Genty, but I think they might go for Hampton. And then the Niners at 11. They're going to be staring at. They could be staring at Kelvin Banks, Will Johnson, Colston Loveland, Mikael Williams, Shamar Stewart, Jihad Campbell, Walter Nolan, Mike Green. It kind of opens up here. The more I watch the edge rushers, I mean, the Niners want a guy who can set the edge. It's like, is that Ezeraku? I don't know. Is that James Pierce? I don't know. Is that Mike Green? I don't know. I got a pretty good idea that Mikael Williams can do it. I got a pretty good idea that Shamar Stewart can do it.
Yeah.
So, I could see it coming down to one of those two guys. I think Lynch said today that he'd like to trade back, but when the topic came up for what he likes in a defensive end, Raj, he was like, I want a guy who can set the edge in the run game, and I want a guy who can pressure the quarterback and close down that space. And then he was asked about, well, some of these guys have production and traits, and he's like, well, first of all, we want a guy that can do it in our system. And then he's like, we have to have seen him do it before, but there is a certain amount of bottom line, element to this thing where if you produce, you produce. If you don't, you don't. The question is he talking about pressures or sacks? Because Shamar Stewart does produce a lot of pressures, and he does set the edge in the run game. I mean, some people feel he's the best at it in this draft. Is 11 going to be a Shamar Stewart, Mikael Williams, one of the two kind of a thing, or does Nolan, Grant, Harmon, or even Mason Graham in a situation where he falls? Do you think the Niners are thinking defensive end, or do you think they're more open-minded and they take the tackle?
Yeah, man, it's so tough. You can go either way because there's so much talent. That's why I feel like trading back might be the way they go, because they can get two. They can get both, Larry. Why just have one when you can go get the edge and the tackle and call it a day, round one, and be a W of the night and just be happy? So I think they might trade back. But if they don't, I think the pick that they make is Walter Nolan. And that's crazy because we're sitting here talking about edge and how they want to, set the edge, pressure. And then he says, you always struggle when you project too much. Sometimes the college production doesn't lie. I get it. And that kind of rules out Shamar because he's more of a guy that's been a riser since the combine. It's like, oh, well, he didn't produce in college. To me,
but he led A&M in pressures. So if John thinks pressures are production, I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy.
It's like if pressures are production, he's productive. If sacks are production, he's not productive.
I agree. But in the NFL, you measure it through sacks, and that's what you need, because last year they couldn't get to the quarterback. And if they can get an 8 to 10 sack guy sitting there at 11, that's a dub right there. So, and then looking at some of the other players like Mike Green, he has character issues. I don't know if 49ers want to take that gamble. You're not gambling at 11. You need to make sure you get a guy that you believe in 100%. Gun to my head, Larry. This is my final prediction. We've been sitting here mocking like absolute crazy for months. It's over. You got 2 more days, less than 2 days. Now, if I got to make my prediction, Walter Nolan is going to be a 49er on draft day. But if they trade, I think that's the best situation, because then you could get an edge and then you can get a tackle and you'd be a happy day one.
I would be very happy with Walter Nolan. Now, and yet some of the conversations around Nolan are not great. Mm-hmm. There are some people out there that are not super enamored by Walter Nolan. I'm going to see if I could read this to you, if I could just call it up on my phone. Okay, yeah, a guy sent me this the other day, and this was from the anonymous scouts. So these are anonymous scouts on Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan. Okay, so here's the Walter Nolan one. I'm going to read you this. Tell me what you think of this. Third-year junior. Here's a quote. He's the best 3 technique by far, one scout said. Tremendous athlete. He's a little full of bullshit. but extremely talented, quick and strong. Described himself at the combine as a young Aaron Donald. I mean, that's pretty cocky. That's pretty cocky. At Texas A&M, he started 14 of 22 games in 22 and 23 before starting 13 at Ole Miss last year. Was rated the number one player in the transfer portal, regardless of position. Then a quote here, sort of like an Albert Hainsworth, except not quite as big, said a second scout. Taller and longer than Mason Graham. He's shown and flashed everything, all of it. He's been compared to Jaylen Carter from Georgia. Carter was just sort of obnoxious in a way. This kid doesn't say a word. You don't know what's on his mind. Finished with 114 tackles, 26 TFLs, 11.5 sacks, and 4 passes defense in his career. Not really explosive, a third scout said. Gets knocked around. Not very good strength. Has been trying to get into the gaps, but he's really not explosive doing that. He'll flash every so often. I question this guy's desire and overall toughness and physicality. Just one of those flash guys. There's enough flashes for him to go there. He's saying there being the second round. Mm-hmm. And then there's one other note here. Let's see what the other note is. It goes on to say, played at a high school in Olive Branch, Mississippi as a freshman and sophomore. From Olive Branch, he was enrolled for a time at IMG Academy, but never played. As a junior, he played at St. Benedict's in Auburndale in Memphis, Tennessee. As a senior, he played at Powell High School in Tennessee before joining Texas A&M as a 5-star recruit. The quote was, he'd probably be at the top of the list if you could just not see him between plays, between drills, between meetings, one scout said. This kid has been paid at 5 different schools, 3 high schools and 2 colleges. He is a mercenary. He's probably the biggest mercenary in this whole draft. He's followed the money everywhere, but yet is very quiet and shy. You would think totally disinterested. You wouldn't think he's hearing a word the coaches are saying to him. But when the ball is snapped for 4 seconds at a time, he's really talented, really gifted. He's explosive, good with his hands, gives effort. But between drills, between snaps, he's on his own program. Some D-line coach is going to stand on the table and say, oh, no, I can coach this guy because he's so talented. Organizational support is probably an understatement. Arms were just 32.5 inches. Hands were 9.5. So there you go. Well, after hearing some of that, and that's from anonymous scouts, does that, you just go par for the course? That's all right? Or does that concern you?
It doesn't really concern me because everybody's got to stay stuck.
Everybody's got something.
Everybody's got something to say. There's been players that have been Hall of Famers that have been doubted on draft. Like, you're going to have negative and positive criticism. But I will say this, based on the draft and this year's talent pool, I know a lot of people are kind of saying, no, don't take Nolan because it's kind of a reach there. You can get a defensive tackle later at 43, which makes sense. So if they take edge, I wouldn't be surprised. But I just feel, I don't know, Robert Salah, I think he's going to want a defensive tackle. I mean, that DT room right now is pretty thin, but I know so is edge. So you can't really go wrong either way. And they've said it many years, a good edge rusher is hard to find. So I think, either way makes sense. I just have this gut feeling it's going to be Nolan, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Shamar Stewart. And, you get an edge rusher, you can get a defensive tackle in round 2. But at the end of the day, someone in the comments said, no matter what, Niner fans are going to be unhappy. Either way.
There's nobody. We're not going to know one way or another if it's a good pick for a while. In ESPN's NFL Nation mock draft, Nick Wagner selected Mikael Williams at number 11. So I would say that's a slam dunk. That means that Mikael Williams will not be the pick.
Has he ever got it right?
No, I'm just joking. But it's one of those things where, everybody's got their thought. Okay. Kev put something out. I wanted to share the screen as well. Let me see if I could just call that up real quick. One of the other, now everybody thinks that their questions produce the best answers, but I did feel like Lynch gave me some good questions today. Okay, let's see. Let me see. So here's a couple on Lynch. Okay, let's play these two. We'll share the screen on this one. This is Lynch from earlier today, for those who didn't see it, off Kev's Twitter. And this was my first question. I said, hey, are you going to trade up? Are you going to trade back? There's a lot of talk about trades. Are there going to be a bunch? Or there not going to be any? Here's what I had to say. Here's what he had to say. And of course, you can't hear any of it. So wait. There we go. Let's turn on the volume. Okay, here we go. Try it again. One more time with feeling.
You've been doing this a number of years now, and there's been some people who say there's going to be a lot of trades this year. Do you get a feeling for something like that at this point in relation to the draft, or is it just random year to year?
What I believe, I feel like there's a lot of people trying to go that way, probably because what I talked about, the quality of starters that run deep into this draft. And generally when everyone wants to do the same thing, there's not as much opportunity. So I think early in the draft, that's what I feel. A lot of people are going to end up staying put because everyone's trying to do the same thing. I think every time we say that, somebody throws a wrench in it, and then it's kind of a free for all. So John Madden, at Fox, one of the things they used to say, you do all this pre-produced stuff, and Madden used to, what happens when a game breaks out, and I think it's the same thing with the draft. You can have all the plans in the world, but a draft is going to break out. A bunch of different things are going to happen, and we'll see what happens. But my inclination is, at least in the first round, I think a lot of people are probably going to try, but when everyone's trying to do the same thing, there's not much opportunity to do so. I
thought that was a pretty candid answer, Raj, about, trading up, trading back. But you know what? I think John really, I think he really hit it perfectly. There's going to be, at some point, in the first round, and probably right before the Niners. Like when I say right before, let's say 3 or 4 picks. I think there's going to be the dam's going to break, and there's going to be a bunch of trades, teams trading up for quarterbacks, because you got the Saints sitting there at 9, yeah. And you have, the Giants trying to trade back, but they're probably not going to go quarterback, so they're going to try to trade back into the draft on the back end. So, and you got Pittsburgh at 21. I really think that Mike Tomlin is starting to feel some pressure. So I think they're really badly want to get their guy. So I think whenever the quarterback number 2 goes, I think you could see a couple of trades right there, because I think there'll be as soon as either Milroe or Dart or Shador goes, I think the teams that need quarterbacks are going to be like, oh, we can't mess around. We got to trade up. So, yeah, and it could be right in front of the 49ers. If the Saints go with Shador and suddenly, the Niners are sitting there 2 picks later at 11, you might have Pittsburgh calling you. Now, would you move back to 21 with Pittsburgh? Is that too far to move back in your mind? Or, we don't know who's going to be there at 21, but there's a lot of talk that Pittsburgh may use their first round pick in 2026 to get up. If you're John Lynch and you're trying to kind of win the draft and show everybody what a great job you're doing, if you could move back from 11 to 21 and get Walter Nolan, a guy that lots and lots and lots of people are mocking to you at 11, and you could steal the Steelers' 26 first round pick, I kind of think that is the win. That's the move that, at the end of the draft, people are like, oh, well, John Lynch is one of the big winners. He got the Steelers' number 1 pick. He got the player that he wanted, and he still got, 15 players in the draft. You know what I mean? So what do you think of that? Would you trade back to 21 if you could get the Steelers 26 first?
That would be a heck of a haul. Honestly, if that was the move, definitely would be a dub. Because you could still probably get, a Harmon or a Nolan or somebody at 21. You might be able to get the guy that you thought you were going to get 11. So that'd be a huge win. And then you can probably get another guy, in that first round maybe, or a second round, a higher pick. You definitely, again, you need players that can contribute right away. And the more blue chippers you get, the better. Honestly, at the end of the day, I don't necessarily mind who they get, as long as it's going to be a prime time player, a guy that's going to be able to come in and compete. So I do think they'd be able to trade back. It's going to be interesting to see what Lynch's strategy is, because he's traded back many times in the draft. So I could see it. I don't think 21's too far. But I just has to be. They just have to know that they can get the guy they want, right? Because they said they have 20 guys with the first round grade right now. So if one of those guys is still there and they think they could get him, 100% you pull the trigger. But regardless of how it goes, you have to make sure that whoever you get in these first two picks, they're going to contribute and become starter. Because again, we're bleak on that D line. We're bleak, at that depth position, at the edge and defensive tackle. So you need to make sure you get guys that are going to come in and be a force. So
this is my second question, Raj. This was the other question I asked him, and he just talked about how much, they love Brock and this and that. And then I threw this one at him. And I guess if we could hear it, it would be good. All right, there we go. Try it again. One more time with feeling. Here we go.
John, he is your starting quarterback, and some players have insight in personnel, some don't. Does a guy like Brock want to take a look at some tight ends or some receivers? Does he have opinions about these guys?
Usually about year 6 or 7. He's not yet. But I think Brock. He does have opinions. That generally comes more with he and Kyle when they're probably on the pro players. He hasn't got into the college stuff. I know he's very high on Iowa State guys. There's a few good ones this year. They do a great job. What a program! I mean, they just find a bunch of 3 stars. They don't really go after Matt Campbell and those guys do a tremendous job. So. You know what you get when you get an Iowa State player. Brock has shown us that. There's some other guys in this draft that kind of are representative of that.
So he started talking about Iowa State guys. Brock, and I'll see if I can call it up here. Brock Raj had a cut there was a quote the other day where he basically was like, hey, he really likes Jaylen Noll. And was very strong in his I love Jaylen Noll. What do you think? I mean, to the point where if it came right down to it, you know what? If Brock Purdy has a receiver that he wants to throw to, I kind of think if I'm the 49ers, I may want to listen. That's something, I know Jaylen Noll's 5'10", but Jaylen Noll is a really good football player. And if Brock Purdy wants Jaylen Noll and I'm John Lynch, I think I might get him Jaylen Noll. The kid had 23 reps of 225. Kenneth Grant had 26. And this receiver who's 5'10", 195 at 23. So he's enormously strong. He's got 4.3 speed. To me, this is not a good player. This is not a very good player. This is a great player. To me, I see an Amon-Ra St. Brown type player. A really, really great player. Yeah, I do. I see a really great player. What do you think, Raj? I mean, should the Niners take a guy like Jaylen Noll on day 2 of the draft? Not necessarily second round, maybe third round. What do you think?
I mean, I think he'd probably be a second rounder, but mid-second. But at the end of the day, you definitely want to look and make your quarterback happy. It definitely would be a choice. You get a guy that your quarterback's already has some chemistry with. It wouldn't hurt the team, obviously. I think it'd be a pick. There's going to be a receiver they're going to get. But I feel like, yes, good player, good pick. But if it comes before somebody that's more of a pressing need, offensive line, defensive lineman, something like that, then I don't know if I'd really want that pick. I get it. He's going to have a good chemistry with Purdy, but I think he could build chemistry with other players that they draft. I think there's a bevy of wide receivers. This guy could be, like you say, he could be an Amon-Ra guy. And I think that'd be great to pair him with, his former quarterback. Definitely be great. But it just really depends on where they're going with the draft. And I wouldn't take him over if they have like an absolute pressing and you are staring at a starting guard, right? Because they need a guard, right? Aaron Banks is gone and we don't know who the heck's going to be that left guard. If there's a guy that you're like, oh man, we have to take him and be our starting guard, I wouldn't take him over a guy like
that. But you'd have interest, just not if there's a more pressing guy on the
pressing guy like what's your guy, Tyler Booker, right? That's your guy,
Tyler Booker.
If he's there, I don't want to take him over Booker.
You don't want to take him over Booker. I wouldn't take him over Booker either. But I will say this: even though he's a 5'10" receiver, if I could get this player, I absolutely would. Okay, CMC gave us an update today. Said that if the season started today, he's a full go. How important is running back, Raj, in this draft process for the 49ers? How bad, in your mind, do the 49ers need to come out of this thing with a brand new running back? It's a very good running back draft, but what do you think? Do they have to get a running back here? What's your thought on the running back position?
Yeah, you have to get a running back here. I get it. CMC's healthy, and that's amazing because he is your big ticket, right? He's your meal ticket. And if he could be healthy and recreate what he did a couple years back, offensive player of the year, he could be a comeback player of the year this year. And he's that good. He's that special. He's kind of seems like he has a chip on his shoulder. He says he's 100% healthy, but that's also Christian McCaffrey's mindset. Like, he's always thinks that he could be the guy. Like, that's just how he is. That's how he was raised. So 100%, you need to make sure you get somebody that can be a handcuff. I know they got Isaac Arendo, but the Niners, they go through running backs like crazy, and you need to make sure you have some insurance, some depth out there. So I definitely think that getting another running back would be very beneficial for this offense. Again, we love CMC. We like Isaac Arendo. I think those two guys are really strong, but who knows? The season's long. Injuries take a big toll. And just in case he has any setbacks, you need to make sure there's a guy that could come in and you don't miss a beat, because the 49ers run offense is the soul of their offense. It's the heartbeat of the offense, right? You have to run the ball if you're the 49ers. That's what this is all built around. You also lost Mason in the offseason, and he was a strong third running back. So I think they want to make sure they continue to have three strong running backs in this backfield.
I asked Matt Mayoka the other day, I said, do you think there's a chance the Niners trade back and then take a couple of those picks on day 3 and maybe flip them for veterans? And before I could even get it out, he's like, I absolutely do. He's like, I've heard rumors of that going back to the combine. It makes perfect sense. They're going to need a major infusion of talent that comes out of this draft, but realistically, how many rookies do you want to have on your roster? Is there a veteran or two that you're kind of targeting? Because there was a name that came up this week that I think would be a great fit. I saw the Lions don't want to pick up the 5th-year option on Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams is just such a difference maker. You saw him score that touchdown in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers in the first half. He's an absolute burner. He's a home run hitter. Now, you're gonna have to extend him. I mean, it's not like he's made. It's not like he's gonna make a mint of money because he hasn't been that good, which is why they're probably not going to pick up the 5th-year option. But the Niners kind of did this with Laken Tomlinson. They found a player that was a high pick somewhere else, and they traded a low, day 3 pick for that player a couple years later, and they got 2 or 3 real good, useful years out of Laken Tomlinson as a starting left guard. Is there, Bryce Huff, Michael Mayer? There's a number of veteran players that are rumored to be available at the trade deadline or at the on draft day. Dallas Goedert, Jordan Davis. They're saying, possibly a number of Eagles could wind up getting traded. That Howie Roseman's real eager. AJ Brown, they're saying, may get dealt. Is there a veteran out there that you think, you know what? I wouldn't mind that one. I wouldn't mind a Michael Mayer. I wouldn't mind a Jameson Williams. I love the idea of doing this. Why? Because to me, if you have a good draft, you got a good draft going. You pick the right guy in the first round. You got a nice day 2. Okay, you got some serious momentum, and all of a sudden you get to day 3, and you like a couple of the players that you pick, and now you get to the 6th round, and you can flip a 6th-round pick for a known entity, like the Niners did years ago for Anquan Bolden. I think it's a great way to finish your draft, because instead of taking a high-risk player at the end, you're actually getting a for sure player, albeit a veteran. Is there one that
J-Dub would be amazing? I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah,
that would be
he's available supposedly.
He'd be better than any running back that you could draft right now. He'd be that would be a home run hitter. But honestly, if I'm going to get a veteran, a guy that's kind of been in the trade rumors, and I think would be a really good veteran for this defense, would actually be Jaylen Ramsey. I know that's crazy. I know he's
that's a good name.
Before, but Jaylen, Renardo Green, and Diamond Lenore. That'd be fun, man. And Jaylen knows the NFC West, right? He played on the Rams. I think he'd play it coming with the chip on his shoulder. A lot to prove, and he'd be a solid vet. Demo and Jaylen, the trash talking they do to other receivers would be great, and Renardo Green too. So Yeah, I like Jaylen. If we can get him for a day 3 pick, go get Jalen Ramsey, man. Holy moly.
There's a lot of talk that the Rams may want to reacquire Jalen Ramsey. What do you think of that?
I could see it. I mean, he was a heck of a player for him. I'm sure he still has a good relationship with McVay. McVay, he keeps good relations with his players, and I could see him coming back. That'd be some cinema. That'd be some theatrics coming back to the Rams.
That it's interesting. One of the rumors that I've seen out there, senior NFL reporter Charles Robinson wrote an NFL draft notebook after speaking with executives and evaluators across the NFL. And he had a blurb about the Niners where he says he's convinced they take somebody along the defensive line, but they may have a trade back partner in the Broncos if Ashton Genty falls to 11. Here's the quote. He says, I think the San Francisco 49ers have been pounding high-end defensive line edge players in their pre-draft work, and it became obvious to a lot of teams to the point that I'm now convinced they are taking a defensive line or an edge player at number 11 overall. He says, I will leave open the door for a trade back. I don't think there's much appetite for a move to 11 right now from other teams. But if Ashton Genty somehow gets to that spot, I would peg the Denver Broncos as a caller to move into that spot. Robinson also listed Genty as a possibility for the Saints earlier. So that's interesting. So he could go to the Saints, but Denver picks 20th overall. And so they would probably have to give up a lot of draft capital to move to number 11. But what do you think? If Genty is there, would you move back with Denver? Why not? Right?
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was pretty interesting. I wouldn't. I mean, why not? I honestly, like I said, my big takeaway is if you're gonna trade in this draft, it probably makes more sense to trade back, grab some more picks, and again, stack more talent on your team. This is a 6-win team. You need to make sure you walk away with good talent. You need to make sure you walk away with players that can be an impact, not just this year, but for the next couple of years, building blocks. So yeah, I'd be cool with that.
Is there any player, Raj, that that you've looked at, and I know you're not necessarily a scout or that you're in the know, but you don't necessarily crunch these guys to every last degree. But is there somebody that you've just gotten a bad vibe about, and you're like, you know what, all things being equal, I'd rather see the Niners steer clear of this particular player?
Yeah, it's probably Shamir Stewart. I don't know. That's just
because of the lack of sacks.
Yeah, I think that's it. But I mean, he might translate. Maybe the pressure's turned into sacks. And then the offensive tackle from Texas, Kelvin Banks, like I don't know. I'm not. We talked about him last week. I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna be that guy.
Did I tell you what Dane Brugler said when I asked him this weekend about Kelvin Banks, about what people have said about him? He said that, some of his position coaches have said, you'll love this guy. He fails slowly. He loses slowly. He loses slowly. And I understand what he's saying. What he's basically saying is he doesn't lunge and whiff and give a defensive end a beeline to the quarterback. Like, you know what I mean? He's more dependable than to whiff. But what he's saying is that, I think the Niners have that right now in Brendel. I think they have that right now in McKivitz. They have guys who are going to fight and not lunge and be, solid, but they're going to eventually get overpowered and they're going to lose slowly. They're not going to lose and get in whiff, but they're not going to win. I mean, when I saw that, that's a last description I want to hear for a guy that I invest a first-round pick in. He's going to lose slowly. I mean, is there, I mean, that might be the worst comment I think I've ever heard from a scout. He loses slowly.
That's not what you want to hear. I mean, at the end of the day,
it's like going bankrupt slowly.
Offensive lineman, though. I mean, he fits in, like you say, that's what Brendel does and all this, but that's not a good thing. We want to upgrade. I mean, I don't know. I just get weird vibes from him. I've seen him get dog walked, against bigger competition in college. I don't know. I could be wrong 100%. Like I said, I'm not, film guru. I try to stay up on things, but I don't know. I just get a weird vibe from him. I'd steer clear.
I would too. Okay. One last one that I want to throw your way. today was an interesting day on a lot of fronts. One, the I thought one of the interesting lines is John was talking about their process. And he's like, he was asked about the draft. He's like, we go through our process. He says, we're a well-oiled machine at this point. He said it starts with the scouts and what they do in May, then the coaches and the medical evals and the research and development and the analytics people. And he's like, he's like, I'm really proud. It's a collective effort. And then he went on to say, when we do things, when we're doing the draft well, he's like, what we do is we build consensus. And when we build consensus, we usually make our better draft choices. And when we don't build consensus, we don't. And I thought it was really interesting because it's almost kind of like you look at the Niners, especially in the early years of the regime. Shanahan and Lynch traded up for a lot of guys that weren't good. Joe Williams, Jaylen Hurd, Dante Pettis, CJ Beathard. I mean, they traded up for all these guys. Ty Davis Price, Danny Gray. I mean, I think they traded up for almost all these guys. And so now they traded up recently for Renardo and Dom Pooney. So it's not like their trade ups have all been bad. But, to me, it was interesting. He said, we look to build a consensus and we do better with our picks when we have a consensus. What's your takeaway on that? It almost seems like maybe Shanahan, who's a really good play caller, really good offensive coach, maybe does not have the greatest personnel vibe or feel. And maybe as his position as the head coach, most powerful guy in the organization, there have been multiple examples of him saying, hey, I want Joe Williams. Hey, I want CJ Beathard. Hey, get me, Jaylen Hurd. Get me Dante Pettis. And it sounds like when they do that, their failure rate is through the roof. Yeah. And that if when they build consensus with their scouts, their coaches, their doctors, their research and development people, their analytics people, when they actually do have a consensus, according to Lynch, that's when they do their best drafting. In some ways, I kind of feel it's a statement about the impulsive nature and maybe not the greatest personnel chops of Kyle Shanahan. I don't know. Maybe what's your read on his comments today? Because I thought that was interesting. He's like, we're really proud. He says it's a collective effort. It's a true organizational deal. But he's like, we look to build a consensus. And when we have, we've done much better than when we haven't.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you look at the team when they first came in, I mean, obviously you had Lynch and Shanahan. They were very young in terms of their experience, right? John Lynch, this is his first GM job. Now this is his 9th draft. Shanahan, right? This is his 9th year as the coach. And I think early on, they said, okay, this is my pick, this is your pick. It's my pick, this is your pick. And I think over the years, also Adam Peters was there and he had a lot of input. We knew how, he was a big time guy that drafted, George Kittle and some of these later round picks. But I think over the years, they did learn that said, hey, maybe more heads is better than 1 or 2. So I think over the years, they've definitely made a consensus of getting a better scouting department. And you look at the draft last year, there was other people that had more say into the draft. And I think this year, now you got Robert Salah. He was a head coach, right? He left, he came back. I'm pretty sure that he has a lot of emphasis on this draft, and they're going to consult with him like, hey, this is your defense. Who do you want to be the anchor? Who do you want to be an edge on the opposite side of Bosa? Who do you want as a defensive tackle? I think Chris Cassert, that's part of his defensive team. Gus Edwards, he's a consultant they brought in, a defensive assistant. And I think, at the end of the day,
Gus Bradley.
Bradley. I think those are the guys that, you're going to have to really go in to war with these. These are the coaches. These are players they're going to be coaching. And then, their new special teams coordinator they brought in. So, like, all these guys, I think, have a say. Maybe one guy has more than the other, obviously. But I think that's what they need to do because you brought in these coaches. You brought in these scouts. And I think they all now have an input. And if you look at the 49ers, right, a lot of these coaches or assistants go on to become head coaches somewhere, coordinator, GMs. So I feel like that's telling you that, hey, these guys all know what's going on with the team. And there's a draft room, a war room. They go in there and they argue and they air it out. But I think that's why they make, that's what makes their picks a little better over the last year. Like last year particularly, but it's not to say that they can have the meetings of the mind and then not have good pick, and not have all great picks. So again, this is a big draft and hopefully they use whatever strategy they used last year, because last year was a really damn good draft.
Two last thoughts. Are you a believer in Shedeur Sanders or not?
You know what? Honestly, I am. I know a lot of people aren't. I like Shedeur. Bottom line, yeah, I like Shedeur. I think
it's interesting because there's we're in this season where things that are said right now could be said by people who love Shedeur who want him to fall, or they could be said by people who are being honest and have no vested interest in Shedeur's draft status. This is interesting. This is from NFL Rumors column. An NFL assistant coach on Colorado's quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. The worst formal interview I've ever been in my life. He's so entitled. He takes unnecessary sacks. He never plays on time. He has horrible body language. He blames teammates. But the biggest thing, he's not that good.
Wow.
It's funny because Mel Kiper, who's he is the face of the NFL draft, compares this kid to Joe Montana. And it's like, Mel, I mean, that is a big, big, big swing to compare this kid to Joe Montana. I only saw him a couple times this year. I didn't study him, but I don't think he's very good. I don't think there's mobility. I don't think there's arm strength. I don't see there any kind of consistency or processing. His accuracy is really good. He can throw from a bunch of arm angles. His short to intermediate accuracy is really good. I don't see the arm strength to drive it down the field. I don't see the stature. He can't run at all. So I really think he's a bust. I'll take day 3 quarterbacks over all these second tier guys. Give me Riley Leonard. Give me Kyle McCord. I'll tell you this. I love this kid, Seth Hennigan. If you can go watch one player, go watch Memphis's quarterback, Seth Hennigan. He's going to be a day 3 quarterback. Raj, he's got a photographic memory, and he's deadly accurate. Deadly accurate. All right, last topic. Devonte Adams. Came out today that Devonte Adams disclosed that the Niners made an offer, and it was kind of a lowball offer. And, of course, the Jets released him. He ultimately signed a 2-year, $46 million deal with the Rams, choosing to stay near his hometown, but not, if East Palo Alto. He's from East Palo Alto, but he didn't come back to the Niners. The Niners' approach, described by Adams as wholesale rather than retail pricing, has sparked debate over, the strategy. Some are arguing the Niners should have matched that Adams' market value. Others see the move as a calculated financial decision. What did you think with Davante Adams told Mike Silver that the Niners pursued him in free agency, but they tried to lowball him? It's funny. John Lynch was asked about it today. He's like, I didn't say that. He's like, Kyle said it. He's like, no, Kyle doesn't talk to agents. Yeah. So it's funny. It's like, Lynch said that he didn't say it, and that Shanahan didn't say it. But you know what? I don't really find that to be that offensive. The Niners are going through a rebuild, and the Niners have a stated goal. We want to get younger, cheaper, and faster. And Davante Adams isn't younger, cheaper, or faster. So when his agent calls and says, hey, how about you guys? You guys interested? I think it's reasonable and consistent to say, hey, if you're looking for retail prices, we can't help you. Now, if you want to come here badly on some kind of wholesale price tag, we might have some interest there, but that would be the extent of our interest. I don't find that as a disrespectful thing to Davante at all. I think that's the Niners being candid about kind of where they are with their roster and how they view a 30-something-year-old receiver. What do you think? I mean, Lynch said today, hey, look, if he took offense, there was no disrespect intended. We think the world of the player. We think highly of him. No disrespect was intended on our part. What do you think? Should Davante have been turned off that the Niners were like, hey, man, you can come here, but we're paying wholesale. We're not paying retail.
I mean, I don't think he should. He's not Davante Adams from Green Bay anymore. I mean, he's still the name. I get it. He's, Davante Adams. He's a hell of a player. He can still run great routes. I think the Rams are a good position for him, right? You got a good quarterback and Stafford who could throw the ball deep, and, he's got Puka, take some pressure off of him. I think this is probably the best landing spot for him, but who the hell wants to pay for an older washed-up receiver? I'm not going to lie to you. I think he'll definitely play with the chip on his shoulder, but I mean, come on, you've seen players like DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, when they got to like act 3 of their career, they're not the same. I think the 49ers shouldn't have had to pay him a lot of money. He is at the tail end of his career, and why would you want to pay retail price for a guy who you probably should be paying wholesale? So I get it. His agent, he probably said that, and whoever his agent is, got him a damn good deal with the Rams. And you're still banking on the name. He's an Air Jordan, right? The name is still there, but I don't think he's going to perform that way. I hope that the Niners, crush him up when they play. I think it's going to add some nice little spice in this matchup. It's a big rivalry. Now you're going to have a lot more, interesting takes and stories. When that first game plays between the Rams and the Niners, you're going to have people, all the reporters saying, well, back in the offseason, the Niners try to get you. And, what are your takes? You guys have to play them. And it's going to be some great content that comes out of it. I'm sure Dion Lenore is going to say a couple of things here and there before the matchup. But, Davante Adams at this point in his career, I wouldn't pay him retail value either. So I think the Niners did good. And John Lynch, like you said, he cleared it up and he said, hey, look, man, no disrespect, good player. We still got to look out for him. But the hell's paying Davante Adams prime money at this point in his career?
Jordan Reed, NFL scout from ESPN, says the movie Draft Day is on Netflix. I still have never seen it before. Worth watching on the plane ride to Green Bay. Absolutely. Is Draft Day worth watching?
Yeah. You never seen Draft Day? Come on, man.
No, I've seen it. I've seen it a bunch. I enjoy it. I actually enjoy it. I think I'd rather watch Draft Day than Moneyball. Let's just say that. Okay, so there's a scene from Draft Day where Sonny Weaver writes the Ohio State defensive end's name on an envelope, and his name was Vontae Mack, and he writes it on a Post-it and puts it in his pocket. Vontae Mack, no matter what. Okay, Vontae Mack, no matter what. I laugh about it because I don't know what year that movie came out, but I do remember Damon Bruce and I sitting in the Harbaugh years in the war room, across from the war room on draft night, the night that A.J. Jenkins got taken by the Niners.
Oh, my God.
And Trent Baalke told me and Damon on radio, live radio, guys, I don't like to divulge this, but I'm feeling pretty frisky, and I'm going to throw this one out. I wrote A.J. Jenkins' name down in an envelope, and I put that envelope in my drawer, in my desk, and I took it out this afternoon, and I looked at it. I mean, he literally stole Sonny Weaver's Vontae Mack no matter what, and he used it on A.J. Jenkins.
Oh, my God.
He actually had a thing that said A.J. Jenkins no matter what. I mean, the guy should have been fired for that move alone. Absolutely. He should have been fired after he told that story. But that being said, final thought of the live stream tonight before we hit the supers. Fill this out. Blankety blank, no matter what. Who is the guy? If you could write down a name on an envelope and make sure that guy was a Niner, blankety blank, no matter what.
Damn.
Who do you like? Who do you like that much?
Man, that much? That much?
Blankety blank, no matter what. Let's see what the chat's saying. I'd love to hear.
Savion Williams. I like that guy.
Savion Williams. That's a great one. Dude, that is a great one. Raj, I'm total respect. Savion Williams.
No matter what.
You love him that much. That's a great one. That is a great one. Savion Williams is one of the most exciting players to watch in years. I mean, have you seen this guy? He runs violently. Oh my God, he is so fun to watch.
He'd fit the Niners.
He would. Here we go. Draft University. Teddy Buchanan, round 3. We got this one. Manuel Rodriguez, Membu, no matter what. Oz, Demetrius Knight, no matter what. Wait a second. Look at this one. 49 Reasons. Cut Jake Moody, no matter what.
That's it. That's it right there.
Here we go. Jaylen Walker, no matter what. We got a couple. Jaylen Walker, no matter what. Jacob Gordon, Andres Borregales, no matter what. Oh, that's good. That is good.
Kobe Bryant. We got a Kobe Bryant. I like that. That's a good pick.
Where's that one? Oh, here we go. Kobe
Griffin.
Bryant, no matter what. Jacob
Good one.
Gordon, David Walker, no matter what. So who are you going with? I'm gonna go Jaylen Noll, no matter what.
Okay. That's a good
Jaylen Noll, no matter what. I don't
I
care if
think
he's 5'10". I don't care if it's the second round. If Brock Purdy says Jaylen Noll's his weapon that he wants, then Jaylen Noll's the weapon that he wants.
I thought you were going Willie Lampkin, no matter what.
I know. I was gonna go Riley Leonard, no matter what, because I do love Riley Leonard. I love Willie Lampkin, but you know what? I don't know if I can go Willie Lampkin, no matter what.
You got it. Pig in a pickle, no matter what, Larry.
Pig what? We get this one, Chris Mr. 49er. Willie effing Lampkin.
There you go,
Willie
Pig.
freaking Lampkin, no matter what. You're right. You guys are right.
That's it, man.
You guys
That's
are
your
right.
pick.
Willie
That's
Lampkin, no matter what. He's
Come
a
on, Larry.
fullback.
That's your guy. I'm a little disappointed you didn't go Willie
I know.
Lampkin.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disappoint you.
Cam Scatterbo, no matter what. How about that?
Cam
one?
Scatterbo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scatterbo, no matter what. Okay, wait. One more. I want to show you one last thing. I'm going to share the screen one last time. How many mock drafts did you do, Raj?
I didn't do a lot. I did like a couple, not a lot.
Couple. You did one with me. I know you did one with me.
We did one. You know, honestly, this year, the mock drafts to me this year, it's just overkill. I don't know. I just was like, I just want to get to the draft this year.
Here's my final Niner mock draft. I did it yesterday.
Let's see it.
Okay. I would trade back in round 1 from 11 to 15 to 20. And for that, I gave myself a second round pick and a 7th round pick. So I gave myself 1, 2, and 1, 7, which I think is pretty fair compensation, to be honest. So I got Kenneth Grant late in round 1. My round 2, I'm going Jaylen Noll and Olufemi Oladejo.
Wow.
In round 3, I'm taking the big offensive tackle Anthony Belton and a running back in R.J. Harvey. In round 4, I'm going Aeneas Peebles, pass rushing tackle, and Demetrius Knight, linebacker. Round 5, I'm going to Rondé Gadsden, who's a really exciting flexed out tight end, and Chris Paul, linebacker. And then I've got 4 picks in the 7th round, 3 plus the one I just acquired. I'm taking Riley Leonard, Willie Lampkin, Kobe Bryant, and my extra pick, I'm getting Eugene Asante.
Man.
And I've rebuilt with this draft. I've given myself a number 1 receiver. I've given myself an explosive running back, a really explosive tight end, a couple of real behemoth offensive linemen, a gigantic defensive lineman, an edge rusher, a corner, and I've redid my linebacking core with Chris Paul, Eugene Asante, and Demetrius Knight. If I could get this draft, I'd do cartwheels. Do absolutely cartwheels.
That if they got that draft, Larry, we'd be hyped here. We'd be hyped.
We'd be hyped. We'd be major hyped. All
Willie
right, let's
Lampkin,
hit
they got
Willie Lampkin, no matter what.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, here we go. Femi Oladejo, no matter what. Lampkin, big neck, no matter what. Big neck. Manuel Rodriguez. Willie Beeman, no matter what. He said, now matter what. Brady Cook, no matter what. Oh, look at this guy. This guy's trolling me from past years. Jason Poe, no matter what. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I talked him up. We got this one. Joseph Ernberg. Savion fucking Williams.
There you go.
Ernberg's negative on brand. All right, let's hit the supers and we're bolting for the door. We got this one from Invader 49er. Larry asks good questions in general, except when he asks Chris Forster about Jake Brendel. Thank you. Lynch seemed to like your question, Larry. Thank you, Juan. Ben Affleck's double chin. Tannehill or Desmond Ridder as backup quarterback or no? No. I don't want either one of those donkeys. I'd rather have Tanner Mordecai. Invader 49er. The choice is Nolan or Stewart. I think Raj and I are both saying Nolan. Boxing fan times 4. Does this feel like a trade back, then followed by a trade back into the end of the first round for a skill position player, maybe Colston Loveland?
Ooh.
Loveland's a very intriguing tight end, but I don't think he's their guy. I just don't. MSQ Larry and Raj, camouflage, pay homage. Lakers in, what does that say? 5?
5. Yeah. They're up
Lakers
60
in
to
5.
46.
Lakers and Clippers both lost last night. James Foster, Buffalo has 30, 56, and 62. Very intriguing. Yeah, 30's a little deep. I got to be honest. But if I thought I could get Kenneth Grant, Milwaukee is just destroying the Giants, by the way. They're up 11-1, 2-run shot into the pen for Bowers. So 11-1, Milwaukee. But yeah, Buffalo's got 30, 56, and 62. I would be intrigued by that, but I'd have to feel like I could get at 30 somebody like a Kenneth Grant or a Walter Nolan, or, I got to feel good about what I'm getting at 30. M squared. All I'll say is this: Purdy, CMC, Juice, Ayuk, once healthy, JJ Pearsall, Kittle, Trent, Pooney, Bosa, Warner, Lenore, Green, Mustafa, a head coach on OD, special teams, John Lynch, and 11 picks. It's a lot. Squeezing a lot in there. James Foster, Krug, like a timeshare guy. Just one more thing, Raj, and then we'll get you out of here. Sorry about that. You're right.
You're good.
You're right. Well, the worst thing about a timeshare is actually trying to get rid of it.
No, it's the worst. Yeah, don't get one.
Don't ever get a timeshare. Don't ever get it. No matter how good it sounds, no matter how much you think you'll use it, don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't go to Wyndham. They'll suck you in. You'll never leave that place.
Do not go timeshare. There you go. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Raj, what do you got cooking tomorrow? What's going on the Raj channel? I mean, we got the draft approaching. Tomorrow's the day before the draft. What do you got cooking?
Yeah, tomorrow I'll be busy. I got I'm trying to get all my work out of the way because Thursday's the draft. So Thursday will be busy, draft, all that, like everybody else. Friday draft, Saturday all day draft. But tomorrow I got some actual work to do. So I'm going to try to get it all out, get everything done, and then Thursday, we rolling, baby.
Sounds good. Everybody hit like and subscribe. I'm back tomorrow. I'm going to stream in the daytime with the great John Lund. And then tomorrow night, what am I doing tomorrow night? I'm doing something. I got something. I'm also streaming tomorrow night, I believe. So look for that. And then Thursday, I'll be on the KNBR draft coverage post game, taking calls from 9 to 11. I'll also do video. I'll go live as soon as the Niners pick. So join me in the first round. Kev will be with us, and we'll go through it, and we're going to plan on going live after every single draft choice the Niners make this weekend. So a lot of live streams this weekend. Kev is back from Coachella. He's going to give us his thoughts on the draft.
Whoa, he went to Coachella, huh?
He went to Coachella. He's still shaking sand out of his ears. And
week 2, he went to week 2.
He was there with Bernie Sanders.
I got to talk to him about Coachella. We'll talk. Me and Kevin.
Oh yeah. Seriously.
Also tomorrow, Warriors, baby.
That's right. That's what I'm doing tomorrow night. Warriors. I'm doing a live stream tomorrow night with Cyrus after the Warrior game. So I'll stream with John Lund in the daytime. Then I'll go post game after Warriors Rockets. And then Thursday, I'm going to the Giants game. Thinking about going to the Giants game in the daytime. I'm going to go into the Giant clubhouse in the morning and talk to some of the players and see how many of them have interest in the NFL draft. We'll see how many of them can pick Shamar Stewart
before the draft. Woo!
Yeah, I'm going to hit that. Then I'm going to come back, watch the draft, do the post game. Lots of streaming, lots of videos, lots of Niners stuff all weekend long. For Raj, I'm Larry. Have a great night. Thanks to Claudaddy Arcades. Thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy. The links are in the description below. Hit a like and subscribe on your way out the door. For Raj, I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared.